Microsoft Ignite, the tour in Berlin, and now I have a very special guest, Jared. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, Michael. Thanks for letting me be here with you and with all of your fans. I'm Jared Spataro. I work at Microsoft in Redmond. Yeah. I have a long history with SharePoint. Right now, I'm currently working on Microsoft 365. Yeah.
And you're not only working at Microsoft, you are the corporate vice president for Microsoft 365, is that right?
That's right, that's right. I am responsible for a number of different aspects of Microsoft 365 right now.
So what is the job of a corporate vice president for Microsoft Office 365? What are you doing?
Well, specifically, I'm responsible for product marketing and product marketing over a couple of areas. So I work, when it comes to segments, on SMB. So I'm in the SMB, small and medium-sized business. Specifically when it comes to products, I work on Windows, so Windows Commercial, and on Office broadly, all the Office apps, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, etc.
How are you located in the hierarchy? Are you reporting directly to Satya, or you have something over you?
I wish, because I really enjoy working with Satya. I do see him quite a bit, but I report up into the marketing function. So my boss is a guy named Kurt Koenigsbauer, who reports to the CMO, and the CMO is Chris Capicella, and Chris reports to Satya.
Okay. As working at Microsoft was having to do with Microsoft 365, how are you working with Microsoft 365 as an executive?
Yeah, you bet. I love Microsoft 365. I love it because it's not just a package for us to kind of go and sell. It certainly is a package, but we're also really focused on taking the products and helping to integrate them to create these scenarios. So if I think about what I do every day, the couple of apps that I use, like literally almost every hour, would be Teams and Outlook. It's two really important communication hubs for what I do. In Teams, we're increasingly using it, not just for teams and organization of teams, but for meetings, for calls, for persistent chat between individuals. So it's becoming kind of really my communications backbone, the way that I work with my team, which is really important, big and small. Of course, I use Outlook to communicate with customers, with partners. We're still pretty big email culture at Microsoft, so a lot of emails are still happening. And then I use the apps every day. My favorite app is OneNote, to be honest with you. That's kind of how I organize all of my life.
What about these niche tools like Yammer?
Yeah, of course. Yammer is important for us. We use Yammer largely to kind of work with communities within Microsoft. So as I think about communities of people like our modern desktop sellers, people who are out working with our customers in that way, or with various kind of technical sellers or solution sellers, it becomes important. Yammer's also used with Satya as he kind of communicates really broadly with the company, so that's a really important use case.
Are you using Microsoft Stream already?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Microsoft Stream is an important part of us taking a bunch of videos and specifically like training videos and uploading them. If you look at Microsoft right now, we had this preponderance of new technologies we're just pushing out all the time, and it's almost impossible to stay up on those without kind of a tool like Stream that allows you to have these videos that you can just get a quick fix on what's going on.
In how many teams are you involved?
It feels like thousands is what it feels like. I don't know if it's thousands, but what I found, it certainly is hundreds of teams. So what I found is I really take a lot of care to really kind of curate the teams on that left-hand rail and make sure that the teams that are most important to me are up front. So as an example, Satya uses a team that he communicates with all the corporate vice presidents in. It's called exec staff. That's one that's really important to me and that I track really closely, and so I put that right up top. I have a team that I use for my direct reports, and I put that right there. And then there's a number of teams that kind of go in and come out depending on how much I'm involved in the project. But what I found is it's really important for me, just the way my personality works, not to have too many teams all at once on that left nav. Otherwise, I just get lost in all of them.
It's so many notifications and so on.
Exactly.
When you start a new team or when you're involved, do you start customizing it for your needs? So adding the real stuff?
For sure.
How are you doing that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's different types of teams. There are different ways that we use teams. Sometimes a team I use to communicate broadly with all of my staff, and there it's used almost more like a community tool, And in a community tool, I'm more interested in the conversation than I am anything else, maybe conversation and files. Then when I get down to a different type of team, we have a team for a group that I work with every week on a standing meeting where we're really tracking execution of things. And there we set things up with Excel spreadsheets, links to OneNote. We use the files really extensively there because there it's a work tool to really manage the work that we're doing. So what I find is that the team is best set up for the type of work that you're trying to do. That's why I love teams.
What are your recommendations for people like you who are in leading positions in companies? How can they use Microsoft Teams? What are your what you're recommending them?
What I would say Teams gives you this opportunity to take a step back and rethink the way your group works together. That's what I love about it. It really gives you this tool to say, wow, we could do almost anything we want to. What do we want to do now? And so my recommendation is to choose a couple of key areas of your business and decide, hey, we're going to use Teams for this. As an example, I use Teams to make sure that I'm communicating broadly with my staff. I really like to ask questions and get their feedback. It kind of closes the distance between me as the leader and their day-to-day lives. So that's a really good use case. And then I really am trying to embed it within the work that we're doing. Increasingly, I'm embedding it into my staff meetings as I have my business manager and the work that she's doing. And I think that's the best way. I would try not to do too much with it at first. Try to choose somewhere like 3 use cases where you could really say, hey, this is how we're going to use Teams, and then make it all yours. Really go after it.
Are you still using SharePoint, HubSpot, or whatever?
Of course. Of course. SharePoint will never leave me. As I think about SharePoint, it's deep in my heart. Interestingly enough, I find that the content I'm doing most in SharePoint these days, like in the last couple of months, has essentially been through Teams. I'm finding that Teams allows me to use SharePoint really naturally, and we have found that across the customers. I've been in Germany this week meeting with customers and partners, and the thing that really seems to click with them is that Teams is a way to pull through very naturally workloads like SharePoint, and so instead of saying, well, I'm going to set up a SharePoint site to do this, which some people still do, more often than not, I'm setting up a team and saying, okay, well, how am I going to use SharePoint as the place to put our content as an example and have it be accessible to everybody?
I think you'll most of your time on the road. What's your mobile connection? How you use mobile stuff?
I love mobile now because it's made it so easy. I use an iPhone on the road to keep in touch. I use a whole bunch of different devices when I'm at work, but on the road, my favorite thing to use is a Surface laptop. I just love everything about the Surface laptop. And so a combination between my iPhone and my Surface laptop are kind of all I need to get working. I tether the two so I have an internet connection at all times, and it works perfect. It's great.
This year, 2018, was a very big discussion about GDPR. How has it affected Microsoft? I think you did a lot of stuff on GDPR. How has it changed the way of thinking about security at Microsoft?
Yeah, for sure. Europe is leading in privacy and security. Really, that is important to European peoples, European nations. We think that's important. And so we've really, as a company, tried to lean into GDPR. From our perspective, this is an opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves versus our competitions. We are just totally committed to privacy, totally committed to security. We feel like it fits within the value that we want to provide to our customers. And so we've spent a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources going into the products, making changes into those, changing the way that we actually run the Microsoft 365 services, just trying to do everything we can to be not only GDPR compliant, but to understand exactly what that regulation is getting at when it comes to privacy. You'll hear a lot from us over the coming years, months and years on this topic.
Yeah, I read something like GDPR is something we have to do, but on the other hand, now it's standard, so we can offer it to everyone. So as a really market advantage.
Absolutely. The way we think about it is innovation comes from different places at different times, and as you look at different markets around the world, they all have their different take on what's necessary and what's valuable. And definitely privacy and security are important to Europe, and we're starting to see it become important in the United States as an example, but Europe continues to lead. And so we felt like as we've leaned into it and decided that it was going to be something that was really important to us, that's been beneficial as we've been able to go all around the world and say, hey, we've done this work, and we think it's going to help you as you try and continue to work through these issues, because those are the issues of our day.
How much is the German market on the focus of the corporate vice president for Microsoft 365?
Well, I love Germany. I spent five years here as a kid, actually.
Okay.
So
Where have you been?
I was in Heidelberg. So I was here for 2 different times. I loved Heidelberg.
Yeah.
I went to my first 2 years of high school here. So this, my heart is a little bit in Germany. So as I come back, I have all these memories flood into me from being a child. As we look at Germany, we think, first off, it's a really important economic engine for Europe. But also I think that as I have toured this past week, I've realized it has really helped me understand kind of where the nation sits and where many different markets sit when it comes to cloud. Cloud started in the United States. It's becoming more and more prevalent in the United States. That's what I'm exposed to the most. But I love to come to someplace like Germany because the cloud there's still an active conversation about, can we go to the cloud? What does the cloud need to do for us? And that's super helpful because I just think that the German economy in general leads on a whole bunch of different dimensions. And this is one that helps me understand where different nations are when it comes to, cloud services in general.
And as I heard from Jeff Tipper 3 weeks ago, there's still support for on-premise for
Correct.
next, how many years?
Correct. Well, the statement that I made, because I posted the blog that
Yeah.
was associated with the 2019 wave of releases,
Yeah.
was that we were committed to the next release of both the clients and the servers, is what we said.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But the cloud is, well, the music place, right?
That's right. You know, the cloud, we could do so much with the cloud. There's, you know, it's so interesting because I think the cloud started with this idea that, wow, we can help you save costs, you know, save money essentially. But increasingly, we're seeing it as a way to deliver awesome security capabilities, to deliver incredible intelligence, you know, to the way people are doing things, just to do things that aren't possible otherwise when you have both the computing power and the data that you can reason over. There's so much you can do.
Especially when we look into AI, artificial intelligence, enhancing the digital workflow. We see pieces right now like PowerPoint ideas, Excel ideas, transcription or whatever.
Love it. Some of my favorite things.
Next year, 2019, what's coming in AI?
2019 will be a very important year for us, you know, because I think it's the maturation of a whole bunch of technologies all at once. When we look in M365 at AI, we love AI broadly. We think it's a wonderful area, but it often feels pretty removed for the average worker. They think, oh, that must be some big algorithm in the sky that, you know, will take away my job. We see it very differently in M365. We see it as a way to augment how people are getting their work done. So we talk about everyday AI, and that's what you'll see in 2019. We're going to be laser focused on bringing AI into workers' days in a way that saves them time, helps them get things done, helps them improve the quality of what they're doing. And I like to think of it as the kind of personification of these little assistants or helpers. We have, you know, we have analysts in the cloud now, we have designers in the cloud, we have copy editors in the cloud. Any type of help you can imagine getting as you're a professional, we want to put in the cloud to automate it through intelligence and to make it available to everybody.
So looking forward for really cool stuff in 2019. Jared, thank you very much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
It was a great pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.